Hello world, I am Maya Ryan and I would like to officially welcome you to another edition of my YouTube live series. This is Hello World with Maya Ryan, and as I said, I'm going to be doing a lot more of these in addition to my day in the life type blogs. But what I would like to do is set up a calendar so that people can figure out when and where to expect me, so that I have a wider ranges of chats. I'd also like to create a couple of trailers that I could promote that will cost a little bit of money, but what I want to do is get myself out there as much as possible so that people will know when to come back to my YouTube live edition of my vlog series. I'm in the process of I'm in the process of promoting my vlogs, and this is also maybe my fourth attempt of this video. Why is this so important? And before I do that, what I would like to do is take a minute to stand and take a moment of silence for the big shooting that happened in New Zealand, because we've had a lot of those lately, and I think as somebody who is a YouTuber and someone who is putting myself out there on social media and fighting for civil rights, I'm going to ask you to gather for a moment of silence. So here we go. Hi, Andy. How are you doing? So, Andy Norville is one of my fellow followers. Okay, Mazel Tov, Mr. Mitchell. I'm glad you could join. So, anyway, the purpose of my videos, and I wanted to talk about this, but I went all over the place, and I tried to edit my other videos so that I could tell you guys why in the world this video is wonderful. But two of my followers, one of them is getting married. I believe he's moving out to California, or he did move to California. So David Mitchell, glad to see you again. I'm also glad to see my other friend, Andy Norville, or one of my other followers. Always a pleasure to see you. But anyway, the name of this video is the #1 reason why this is so important. So why is this so important? So first and foremost, I am going to start again and mention that a number of years ago, maybe 5 years ago now, 5.5, I had connected with a friend who did some video work with me years ago. We weren't friends then, we were just acquaintances, and we were acquainted through the Emory Autism Center, and that's where I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome in 2000 and what was that? And that was in 2007, or actually, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome in 2003, which was post getting diagnosed with pervasive developmental delay, PDD, none other specified NOS, when I was 11 years old, and then a decade later, I ended up getting re-diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome when I moved down here to Atlanta with my aunt, because she wanted to know whether or not I was autistic, and she did a lot of research and got me involved with this autism center that's connected through Emory University, which is now, I guess, a very, very, very high-end school. It's very expensive. It's $40,000 a year. Thank you very much. And I guess they say it's in one of the Ivy League schools, but anyway, they have an autism center. And there was a time where I went to their adult program, and they did things like they would have a party every Thursday night. They called it Thursday Night Live. And they also had things like movie nights, and what they would do is teach us proper social skills and things like that. And so this one time, the opportunity came up for a bunch of us clients to get invited to a black tie affair which was a benefit for raising money so that the Emory Autism Center could get services. And so what they did was they hired a videographer, and he was going around videotaping us as we were doing this special class to practice the etiquette for appropriate types of settings such as that. Okay, David Mitchell says, I'm a part of the autism organization called ANCA. Well, David, it sounds like you're really moving on with your life. That's good. But anyway, I was part of this group, and I was learning social skills and proper ball etiquette and body language and different types of gestures for these big swanky events. So what they did was they went around and looked for people on the spectrum who were clients at this organization, and what they did was they asked me, so I agreed to say yes, and I agreed to do an interview, and he liked me so much that he liked what I had to say that he put it up there on the special video, which I guess is now very, very moving. You can look it up at the Caitiff Ball, A Lifetime of Services. That video gets me every time, even though I didn't like what he said about, even though I didn't like what he captured, was my thought that sometimes neurotypicals can be a pain in the butt, but I have to live with them. And I really didn't want to say that. I didn't want them to hear that. I wanted them to hear some of my other things and how I'm going to college and doing all these things. But he just, he caught that. And so a number of years later, what he did was he decided to get in touch with me, and he decided that, hey, your videos are that good. Why don't you consider getting involved with vlogging? You've got a really straightforward personality, and you've got the personality of a news anchor or a news reporter, and you're very straightforward and you're very outgoing, and it's usually people like you that do XYZ. Well, that's wonderful, David. Please be sure to keep it up. So what he told me to do was basically to do a day in the life of an autistic, what it's like to be autistic. And me, I had different ideas. Back at that time, I was falling in love with Good Morning America and just in love with the way that they were promoting videos on YouTube, like how something would go viral because of XYZ. So what I decided to do was I decided to try to make it as Good Morning America-ish as possible, and he was going to work with me, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But because he said I'm so self-determined, I just decided to take on the project myself. I mean, when I first started vlogging, I had a hard time going on YouTube Live, even though it was around. But what I did was I started doing these 5 to 10 to 15-minute videos, and they were just one little headshots. And then I fell in love with Casey Neistat, and I fell in love with what's his name? I fell in love with Casey Neistat after I had been doing vlogging for a long time. And Casey Neistat is a big-time YouTuber, and he lives in New York City, and he just does these great daily day-in-the-lifetime type vlogs, and it's just, he's just that good. So, anyway, the question is, why is this so important? So, and I was talking about this yesterday, but my video just kept getting glitched. So what I wanted to do is mention that one of the reasons why I'm putting this video up is for two main reasons. The first one is that really I'm raising autism awareness and autism acceptance. And what I'm doing is also breaking a bunch of stereotypes or posing stereotypical threats. So that's a part of autism awareness, and I'm also promoting autism acceptance. And what I'm doing is showing people what my life is like, is showing people that I'm not living in a group home. I'm not under a guardianship. I'm not sitting on my butt collecting Social Security. I'm actually living a normal life. I mean, I'm working in a university, and I am living on my own, and I have a cat, which, by the way, I found out today that orange tabbies are the #1 trend right now, thanks to Goose in the new Captain Marvel movie, and he's awesome. Okay, so, David said that, well, I do, okay, well, let's see here, top chat. I can't read that again, David, that just disappeared, but what I'm doing, so David Mitchell, I'll have to read your comments later, but what I'm doing is sharing my autism awareness and showing you what my life is like, and showing you that I sometimes do things a little differently than other people, but I also live this normal life, and that's the reason for my day in the life type vlogs, because the objective is that autistic lives matter. So the other thing is, I'm not only raising awareness, but I'm also raising autism acceptance, and I'm just building this great big brand for myself. And I just started getting into this head on years ago. I mean, no, I don't have 15 million subscribers on my YouTube channel yet, but that's the dream, to eventually reach 15 million people. But the question is, what do I need to do to get that big number? But as you know, the YouTube market is very competitive and very big, and you have to, I guess, put in the right keywords, or not on your YouTube, your platform. And I guess you have to just beat at it and plug at it and plug at it and plug at it, because people will know when and where you're going to post videos. And I am using as many YouTube tools as possible, including the new YouTube Premiere, where I can promote videos, where I post them, and then I set a time, and what I do is I let my subscribers know when and where they can watch my YouTube video go live, so that I can actually chat with them as my videos are premiering. I can also set a specific time when and where I do my YouTube live chat sessions, so that all of my fans know, or all my subscribers know. Okay, so, all right. Thank you, David. Thank you so much, Andy. You guys are a great audience, but basically what the objective is, I can start setting a calendar. Have you ever heard of Light It Up Red in April? Also Autism Acceptance Month. Red means acceptance. Yes, David, I have heard about that. I've heard about the Red Instead versus Autism Speaks. And I don't really follow them as much because I work at the university, and what I'm trying to do is not try to protest one or the other. I mean, as a professional and a self-advocate, you have to take middle grounds. It's just the way it is. You can't throw things and go, oh, I hate that. It'll just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just not the way I do things, David. What I do is I just like to collaborate with people. And see, lots of people are drawn to Autism Speaks because it is a trusted brand, and people know that little blue puzzle piece. Not as many people know about the brand Red Instead yet. That is going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort to promote, as well as consistency, self-determination, and whatever else. And I think it also really depends on the attitude of the people behind Red Instead. And some people are just opposing Autism Speaks, and they're opposing social skills and all these other things, and they have these opinions that I just don't understand. But I get why they're angry, because there's a big movement right now that just wants to cure autism, and they're afraid of vaccinations. That's fine. I don't believe in curing autism because I'm one of those people that believes in neurodiversity and the different types of thinking. And I'm also believing that people want to control something that they can't, and they want to try to solve it themselves. And that's a really, really, really big issue. So that's one side of it. And then I don't agree with learning social skills as a form of curing autism. To me, that's a survival tactic. And there's a group of autistics right now that they're taking it to extreme. They're just really radical, and they're just so close-minded and so negative that I don't want to be around them. I'd rather be around Temple Grandin, and I'd rather be around Anita Lesko because number one, they're women on the spectrum, and number two, those are quirky women who believe in getting something done. And three, they don't let their disability define them. They figured out how to overcome their situations, and they figured out how to navigate the way and how other people think about them without actually trying to bend over backwards to please some of these people that are miserable. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do as a self-advocate, as a model citizen to the autistic community. But again, that's why you have to take middle grounds. Now, why do I support Autism Speaks? Well, number one, that's where we're going to reach all the families. That's where we're going to educate all the families, and you cannot go in there flipping the bird and going, F this! I'm not an effing puzzle piece! Red instead! You cannot do that. No, if you're from Red Instead, you have to learn how to collaborate with Autism Speaks. You have to learn how to network. You have to learn how to be professional. You can't really do all this stuff that'll turn people off. I'm sorry. And so, I mean, again, middle grounds are the way to go. So, but bottom line is that I'm here to raise awareness and acceptance, and I'm here because my voice counts, and I'm here because I matter, and that I'm good enough. I'm more than good enough. I'm here because I'm worthy of love and acceptance. I'm here because I'm just as equal as everybody else. And that's the objective. I want people to see that I don't just sit around and play with cards or play with trading cards, or I don't sit around just petting my kitty cat all day, or I don't sit around playing Dungeons and Dragons all day. I'm here because I don't sit around rocking back and forth. I mean, yes, I do rock back and forth, but that's only if a situation is too overwhelming or too overstimulating for me. I'm here because I want you guys to see what my life is like. It's whether I'm traveling on the road to another state. Like last year, I went to Chicago for a autism conference. And that autism conference, me and my fiance laugh at some of the people because they said people who have autism are not sexually active. Oh, David, you are absolutely right. David, that's funny. I'm actually in the middle of reading Temple Grandin's book, Emergence, labeled autistic. This was one of her first books. I mean, she wrote it and she published it when she was about my age, while she was going to school to get her PhD in animal science. And one of the things that she struggled with is whether or not people thought that she was sexual because her personality was so flat. And that's because she just didn't like to be touched. But some of the issues that I face, David, is that, David, no such thing as healing. I think it would go away. Me and my fiance, I'm really, really glad. So anyway, I'm really glad that you guys are putting that out there. David, did you finally move to California? That's right. You said you're moving there in August, but did you finally meet your fiance in person? Anyway, and while he's figuring out what to say, what I'm going to do is thank you very much. Autism is all. Thank you, Andy Norville. I totally appreciate that. But anyway, I lost my train of thoughts. But here's something I want to big up. People think that they've got these mindsets about me, and they've got these ideas. Okay, so people have these mindsets and these ideas, and people think that they can talk down to me because I have a label, and they have these stereotypes formed into their brain that I have limited interests. But basically, one of the things that I've seen people do is that they talk differently to me than they talk to everybody else. So let me give you an example. So a couple weeks ago, I was in Savannah for a autism conference, and I was there, Temple Grandin was there, Lydia Brown was there, some of my other colleagues were there, and I was mainly seen as the mentor. People were coming up to me, asking me questions, and what I was doing is talking about different ways that people can do social skills. So what I did was I was demonstrating how people can learn how to communicate using a specific object as far as taking turns go. And so someone rose their hand and I gave them the cup. And the first thing they wanted to ask me was, "How's your cat?" And I just thought that was really insulting. So I had to direct them, and I had to say, can we please stay on topic? We're not talking about that right now. And see, those are some of the issues that I face. Now, she came up to me later on, and she tried to, I believe, make excuses for her behavior. And I realized that I didn't realize at the time, but I gave it some thought. And I thought what she really was doing was trying to validate her maladaptive behaviors. And she told me that she was thinking about adopting a cat. So everyone who has autism are different, one from another on the spectrum. Yep, David, I absolutely agree with you on that. And they're all unique. There's a saying, no two snowflakes are exactly alike, especially in the autistic community. Now, some people might find that offensive as far as political correctness goes, but I see these little snowflakes in my mind, and I see the metaphor where no two snowflakes are alike. But anyway, what she did was she made excuses for her behavior, and she told me that she was sorry, but she was going to think about getting a cat, and that's why she was asking me because she was thinking of adopting a cat. And I just thought that was so inappropriate and just incredibly disrespectful to someone that was giving advice on how to handle social skills, on how to teach social skills, after I had gone through a list of do's and don'ts. She had the nerve to sit there and rub that in my face. And I was highly embarrassed. And so when she apologized to me, I told her that the reason why I got firm with her was because it's all in the process of teaching social skills. And really, yes, autistics need social skills, but there are plenty of neurotypical/allistics that need to be taught social skills too. And those social skills should be not blurting out comments that marginalize and make the other person feel like they're lesser or a half of somebody. And that really is a big problem. People are so hung up on the label, and they're so hung up on what somebody can't do versus what they can do. And they're just so hung up on the autism, and they're hung up on the stereotypes and the limited interests and everything else. Now, I agree that we have autistics who are geniuses, because I believe in neurodiversity and the different types of thinking. The problem is that, again, we have all these people nowadays that are looking in autism as a negative light, like it's this terrible disease. I mean, I hear stories all the time from parents that they try to educate others, and other people in the room come up and patronize them and go, "I'm sorry." And these parents that I've heard of are the ones that believe that their kids are gifted and that they've got talents and that they're probably geniuses or think a little bit differently than other people. They're saying, no, don't be. My child just has a different way of doing things and they have a different way of thinking. We shouldn't be focusing on the disability. They're also throwing out Temple Grandin's different, not less motto, which I really like. So, I mean, so the truth is, what we need to be doing is reminding the world that we are different, not less. And see, right now, we have all these people. So right now, thank you. We have all these people who are, they find out we're autistic, they find out we have interests, and they think that we're limited. Yeah, me too. They think that we've got limited interests, and so when we join a conversation, people think that it is okay, or it is okay to treat other autistics like they're lesser or a half of somebody, and they think they can change the subject around us. Like this last synagogue I used to go to, I was treated so bad there. I mean, no, I wasn't slammed. I wasn't slammed down. I mean, I wasn't pushed down, but I was marginalized in the form of patronization there, and they just treated me differently. And they also made me feel bad because I flapped my hands and because I paced back and forth. And especially this rabbi. I mean, he's very well known. I'm not going to give out his name, and I'm not going to address the name of the synagogue because I'm live on YouTube, and I just want to keep that professional. But basically, at the synagogue I went to, people there were talking to me like I was stupid, and they were acting like I was stupid. I mean, in here, I work at a big university, and I'm a leader in the autistic community. And, okay, I have people in the autistic communities. I mean, I'm very well known. I mean, I've met some really, really, really distinguished people, and again, I had the opportunity with the social skills, right? And here, the rabbi, I mean, the first rabbi was great, but then he left. But the second rabbi, and I'm going to say this, was just, he was out of line. And it wasn't just him, it was others. And none of those people really bothered to get to know me. They would come up to me, like, he would come up to me like I was 10, and here I was in my 30s. He's like, "Hi, Maya." And then he would try to give me knuckle bumps. And he also had a really, really, really controlling side to him, and basically he wanted me to fit their mold, and he made that clear to me one time by pulling it to the side. I mean, it's a long story how it got there, but he sat me down because I did some things that bothered him, but instead of telling me, or instead of allowing me to share my story, he just sat there and dominated the conversation. He was very controlling and very passive aggressive, and it was, "You will do this, and you will do that, and do not ever interrupt me when I'm up at my pulpit. Got it?" And then he said, "Well, I want you to come in here and do what everybody else does, and blah, blah, blah." And see, I just didn't feel like I was valued there. He also had this attitude where he wanted me to conform to their norms, and he wanted me to socialize more. And here, I didn't feel like socializing with a lot of those people because I honestly thought that there was something off about them. And I was also trying to be cautious because you can't always trust everybody. And there are a lot of people who will take information from someone, and then they'll turn around and they'll stab you in the back while they pretend to be your friend. So I was also concerned as to whether or not I would be tiptoeing around some of these people at the synagogue. Yeah, thanks. So I was, and so basically, he wanted me to socialize. He wanted me to fit their norms and all that. But basically, I left that synagogue because the environment there just got to be way too toxic, and I just was never really included in anything. People would always connect and get together, and they would talk about their plans in front of me like I wasn't there. And so that's one of the reasons why I didn't bother. And then nobody really wanted to learn anything about autism. They were more concerned with themselves, and they were more concerned with feeling comfortable. So anyway, the last blow in this situation was basically where I had elected to try to join their music team, and we were sitting down. We were sitting down in services, and the rabbi was acknowledging the music team, and so I rose my hand out of curiosity because the music team is new, and I asked if it was if there were any other openings available or if it was full. So I asked him, and then he asked me to come see him after services. So I asked, and he said he would talk to the music director about it. And so I took that as no, or I took no for an answer, because I was testing them to see whether or not they really were persecuting me for being autistic or persecuting me for being different. So what I did, I just blew it off like nothing, right? So a few days after Shabbat, I got this email from him stating that I shouldn't have raised my hand and asked him that question in front of everybody else because it put him into a awkward situation. And he said that he thought about it, but that he wanted me to learn how to socialize more. In the meantime, he wanted me to help clean up after lunch, which he thought would be a great area for me. And I mean, I was crying about it, but I did write back and I did agree to help out to clean up. But after sitting around in tears for a couple hours, I thought about it, and I just thought to myself, is this really worth it? I mean, this guy has made me cry and made me upset on a few occasions now. I felt uncomfortable with the people at this congregation, and I thought, I don't think it's a good idea for me to be around this person anymore. He's just gonna make me cry. Yeah. Okay, David. I know, I understand that, but please try to stay on topic. We're not talking about sex on the spectrum. You bring up a really good point, though. At the moment, we're talking about marginalizations, and I'm talking about an issue that I think you need to hear about. So anyway, after being told that I could, thank you, David. After being told that I couldn't join the music team because I wasn't socializing enough and I needed to socialize more and maybe perhaps clean up after lunch, after their lunches, while not looking at my gifts and my talents and my strengths, he just wanted me to conform to their norms and jump through their hoops. I just decided to leave that synagogue, and to be honest, I've been happy ever since. I mean, sure, I'm angry about what happened because I was marginalized and I was bullied there, and I've had a lot of time to think about it, but I feel like I had to tiptoe around those people because they didn't understand and they didn't want to understand. And I know this because I had attempted to educate them. I had even suggested that we get a group of congregate members together, and then I do a special presentation when it's not Shabbat, maybe on a Friday night or something, or maybe for a special teaching event. I just get everybody together, and then we have like a community thing. And I do a PowerPoint presentation in showing them what it's like to be autistic, while also crushing stereotypes. And my rabbi was not up for that. No, instead, he was more interested in trying to change me. He was trying to insist that I need to work on my social skills a lot better because I needed to learn how to be more positive and I needed to learn to change myself. Meanwhile, well, they didn't have to lift a finger. They were just more concerned about everything looking a certain way. So again, I left that synagogue and I've been a lot happier since. I went back to my old synagogue. I'm not going to get into why I left, but I'm back at my old synagogue, and to be honest, I am a lot happier there right now, and I just feel more welcome there. I mean, everybody at this other synagogue, they were controlling and they were toxic, and you had to bend over backwards for them, and they didn't do anything for you. So it just, there were lots of examples like the synagogue one where autistics are marginalized and they're talked down to. And then when you try to, as much as bat an eye, let them know, hey, this isn't okay, you're told that you're rude. Like, I eventually started speaking out to my rabbi because he kept giving me the knuckle bumps when he agreed with me. And I told them, hey, I'm not a child. And he said I was rude. So there are plenty of examples, and so that's exactly why I'm creating this video, because I want you guys to see what my life is like. And as you guys see, I'm not sitting in a group home. I'm sitting on campus at Georgia State University, downtown Atlanta, Georgia. As you guys see, you've seen my other vlogs. I have gone out to eat and tried various foods. You've seen me go out and go shopping and talk about what it's like to lose a family member. Like recently, I lost my Aunt Lois to a massive stroke after we fell out over a year ago. And I didn't bring it up because I didn't want to badmouth her and I didn't want it to get out. But now that she's gone, I can talk about that more often. But I'm doing this thing where I don't want to talk about the people behind their backs all the time. But I do think it's important to raise autism awareness and autism acceptance from the form of an autistic, not an allistic, not a scientist. I mean, unless you're an autistic scientist like Dr. Grandin, where she looks into various brains. Like, she's really interested in neurodiversity tribes, and that's one of the reasons why I like her. And then, of course, you have, again, Anita Lesko, and again, she's lovely. And then now we have Maura Nike and Lydia Brown, and we have, of course, I haven't heard him, but I heard Ari Neiman is quite a delight. So, I'm sorry. So, did they die, or did you just have a falling out, David? I'm really sorry to hear that. But, yeah, David, I lost my aunt right on January 7th, 2019, but she had a massive stroke right around Christmas. Yeah, so which hurricane was that? Was that Irma? 'Cause, it's funny that you bring it up because I fell out with my aunt in September of 2017, right after the Olympics. Not the Olympics, but right after September 11th, because it made landfall in Atlanta. But she didn't die. She didn't die then. We just grew apart because she just liked to control things. So what basically happened was we just grew apart, and I wasn't contacting her as often. And because she liked to control things and control other people, she had this my way or the highway type of an attitude, and she could also be very difficult and contentious to be with, and she had trouble holding on to friends and other types of bonds and connections. And she also lost me because, again, it was just one of those natural things. We just grew apart. I just kept growing, and she wanted to control me and hold on to me and use the fact that I'm autistic as an excuse. And she wasn't allowing me to move forward. And so at some point, I just started putting my foot down and stopped talking to her as often. And then that just gradually drifted apart. And then a few days after Hurricane Irma blew through Atlanta and the power went out, I didn't contact her. And then she found out through the grapevine through some other family members of mine. And I called her back, and told her what happened. And she told me, maybe you don't want me in your life anymore. And I mean, I was sad about it. But as I said in a few other videos, that just was a toxic relationship. And that relationship, honestly, was like an emotional roller coaster where it would go up and down. And so I decided I wanted to take a break because I didn't like the interactions, and I didn't like the fact that she was trying to control me, and I didn't like the fact that she could be so abrasive, and the fact that she would put me on a guilt trip. So the last blow in our relationship was this hurricane and this guilt trip. So I just went ahead and I cut that relationship loose. And I hadn't seen her in a year, and I hadn't talked to her in a while. I mean, she did email me, but sorry, I do weird stuff sometimes. But I told her that that we were gonna bring out the worst in each other. And so I never heard from her again. My friends died saving 4 people. David, I'm so sorry. But come over a year later, the day after Christmas, I was out actually getting ready to go shopping because I got some money, and I was going to enjoy the afternoon because it was warm and it was about 60 degrees. And so I was also going to go out to film some vlogs, and I was just starting to film my vlogs. And then I got to the train station where they had the bus hub and they had the shuttles, and I got this phone call. So I picked it up, and it was my aunt's neighbor. And, okay, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame you, David. So I had this phone call from my aunt's neighbor, and I had blocked her number and everything. And so I thought she was trying to get him to call me so I could call her because she wanted to know what was going on. And it turned out that her friends had been trying to reach her for several days, and the police were over there, and her car was in the garage. So they called the fire department, and what the fire department did was they got in the house. So I thought that she was dead, or they found her dead the day after Christmas. And so they went in the house, but she was still alive, but barely alive. And she had had 2 massive strokes. And so they brought her to the hospital, and the last time I saw her, she was in a coma, and they decided to do a DNR with her. So by the time I saw her, she was in stable condition off life support because she was just being kept alive on a ventilator. So she was in a coma for several days, woke up, and they thought she was going to be severely disabled. And then she went back into her coma and just was never responsive again. And she just never woke up, but she died in her sleep on January 7th, 2019. So I'm dealing with that. Okay, a lot of churches want congregation in one accord. Yeah, it's not just churches, Andy. It's other houses of worship. I've heard about this from other people that have family members, children with or loved ones with disabilities. They have struggled to feel accepted because or welcome, because the people at the top of the congregation feel uncomfortable with things like special machines or special machine noises, or they feel uncomfortable because their son has a sensory processing disorder, and the church doesn't know how to handle it, or the church. But it's not just churches; it's mosques and imams. It's mosques, synagogues, temples. I mean, any house of worship. And it seems to be that the houses of worship in places of religion where people seem to lack the most understanding. So it's not just churches. And it really should be the opposite, because churches are supposed to be houses of community. They're supposed to be houses of acceptance and inclusion, and they're not. They're not being any of those things right now, and it is amazing. Okay, so hello, we have 3. I have 3 speakers. Okay, so David said, my fiance goes to a church where they support people with autism, and she goes to a church in California too. David, that's wonderful. But by the way, David, so where does your fiance work? Okay, so we have three different subscribers, and we had 3 different views today. I'm just really glad. I eventually want it to be more people, and I want more people to come into my vlogs. I mean, after this live video is over, I mean, it's going to be archived, but I'm going to edit it and make sure that they have appropriate key finders. Really, David, what is she majoring in? Okay. I am in college. I'm working on my bachelor's in psychology, and then I'm going to go off and do something in biostatistics later on because I love math. And I would absolutely love to share with you guys some time on what it's like to live on the spectrum and have an education, and also talk about employment. So, yeah, I think you were telling me before that her parents own a business, but I was just mentioning that I am going to be doing more live sessions because, again, I want to be driving more people in, and I want to do more interactions with people because I think that's the best way to draw them in. But before I go, I wanted to let you guys know that I have a few other things going on. So, okay, if you're new to my vlog, please be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Please be sure to hit the subscribe and the thumbs up on this video, and also be sure to check out my other YouTube videos, and also be sure to share this with anybody, like your friends, family members, peers, mentors, educators, employers, and anybody else in the autistic community. I mean, I wouldn't even mind having people call in and I could do interviews with them. So if you're a professional, like if you're Steve Silberman, or if you're Steve Silberman, I would love to have you in my show. If you're Anita Lesko, I would love to do a Skype call with you. If you're Temple Grandin even, I'd love to talk to you, love to interview you. So whoever you are, I mean, I would love to do interviews on the show because trying to get myself out there, and I'm just trying to, again, raise autism awareness and acceptance. But I'd also like to let you guys know that I have a series of written blogs on Wordpress.com. These are scholarly, practical application, as well as new reviews on things like conferences and material related to autism. And I'm blogging for the publishing brand Future Horizons, and what they do is they publish a number of books and material related to autism, and they have several works put out. Anyway, they have several works put out by Dr. Temple Grandin. Like, they're promoting one of her newest books now called Calling All Minds. It's a children's book based on the things that she used to do as a child, and how to build up skills and build up little things like paper airplanes, kites, and whatever it is, because Temple liked to build things when she was a little girl, and she also liked to make things like paper parachutes. And what she would do is she would tie them to the end of her bike, tricycle, and when she was a little girl, she would drive them around the neighborhood just to see it fly. And she's taking her ideas and the things that she used to love as a kid, and she's encouraging other autistics to use them. I haven't read it yet, but I have the book, and I have the book on hand, and I would like to read it and promote it. I'm in the process of reading a lot of others right now, but please be sure, if you check out the link below, after this video is archived, you can check out my my WordPress page. I'm also reading a few others, and I also blogged about a Future Horizons conference, so please be sure to check those blogs out as well as my other content in there. I think it's really important. And then Also, be sure to know that I do share my experiences on what it's like to live on the autistic spectrum. I talk about things like having a sensory processing disorder, to sharing how other people see me, like I just did today. I also provide tips and advice for those of you who are parents and caregivers. To anybody who's on the spectrum, like I was talking to David Mitchell, I could provide tips and advice to David Mitchell. I could provide tips and advice to Andy Norville and anybody else. And perhaps that's what I'm going to do, is maybe do more time where I schedule various YouTube live sessions, and maybe I do more times where people post their questions, and then they ask me a question, and then I give them tips. But again, I would have to set that in my calendar, and I would have to create a special, maybe a special trailer or a commercial, whatever it is, to get people to do that. And then I will give my 2 cents on what's going on with autism in the media. Like, there's one of them that I would like to talk about, but I need to read about it first, and I think this would be really important for autistics. Okay. Thank you so much. Andy Norville says, never change to please anyone. Thank you so much, Andy. So, I don't think I want to change, so that's why I left that synagogue. And in fact, when I decided to back out, I wrote him a very angry letter. I mean, I didn't take pictures of myself and flip the bird off or anything and go, hey, go stick it, douche. Sorry, hate to use that. This is family friendly. But what I did was, I can't figure it out. But what I did was, I wrote to him and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to cure my autism just because a bunch of, actually, I'm not going to cure my autism for a bunch of miserable people. And I told them that I felt like he had been discriminating against me, and I just left. But anyway, so I do provide tips and advice. And then I also like to vlog about things that I'm passionate about that are not autistic related, because I want you guys to know that I have passions like everybody else too. And then I do my day in the life daily vlogging. And by the way, as of this weekend, I am going to be renewing my my editing software license. So you will be seeing more of my famous day in the life daily type vlogs. And I'm going to continue to be bringing those forward. So anyway, I'm about to log off. Thank you so much, Andy and David, for joining me during this live session. I do have a special vlog that's coming. I have a special presentation that's coming up through a conference I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about autism airport rehearsal tours. And I am hoping I can, hoping I can talk via YouTube Live on my autism airport rehearsal tours, and other people get to see that. And then I also will be posting a couple of videos regarding my Powerhouse Strong Autistic Women's Panel. In the meantime, go to Sunny D. Curls page. It's Sunny-D Curls, and then how she spells curls is C-U-R-L-E-S. So look up Sunny D. Curls and look up the Power Up Autistic Women's Panel, because there were 7 of us that gave our perspectives on what it's like to live on the spectrum. And then we did a panel and we all shared our feedback. And please be sure to stay tuned for that, because I'm going to be putting those up as well. So anyway, I'm out of time for today, but thank you so much for joining my channel today. And thank you so much for checking out my content and checking out my feedback. And thank you so much. Until next time, I'm Miyah Ryan, and I'm signing off now.